Welcome back to the channel, guys. So in this video we're going to work on this Caterpillar forklift behind me. This is my own personal forklift. The problem with it is the steering cylinder is leaking pretty bad now. Used to just have a small spot here and there, but now it's to the point where it needs to be fixed. So what we'll have to do is I'll get out my homemade ramps. I'll show you guys how I made those and how I tested them, just to make sure that they're not going to fall apart or split on me. The other thing is I got a seal kit ordered. It'll be in tomorrow, so tomorrow afternoon I'll go pick that up. But for now, we can go ahead and get started on this and take that cylinder off. Now, a lot of your steer cylinders on these forklifts are actually in the back, and they're behind the steer tires. This one is not like that. It's actually underneath the bottom here, and it's on this side. So it's going to be kind of a pain in the butt, but we'll get it off. We'll rebuild it. I was a forklift mechanic for a few months and learned a ton about forklifts. Had them all apart. I mean, it was a fun time. I learned a ton. So just wasn't for me. Didn't like it. I enjoy working on stuff, but nobody takes care of forklifts. You know, you get to a job and it'd just be nothing but mud caked underneath it, or you know, it's just always dirty. You're going home black all the time. And as much as I don't mind getting dirty, that is an excessive amount of dirt or grease or grime. And everything you touch turns to black. And so I got out of that. And now I'm going back to what I like to do. But let's go ahead and get started. I'll show you the leak, show you where the cylinder's at, and we'll go from there. All right, so we're down here by the bottom of the forklift, and this here is the leak. That is coming from the steering cylinder. So I don't know if we can get you up in there to look at it. No, it's too dark. All right, so these are my forklift ramps, and I laid them out this way on purpose. You can see how I built them. These are, I believe, 2x10s, and I sandwiched 5 2x10s together and nailed them all together, and then I cut them at that angle. So when you flip them over, that's what they look like. I have had these, I've had more forklifts on these than I care to talk about, but they work very well, and this is what we're going to use to get more ground clearance underneath that forklift there. So let me set you up, and we'll pull this forklift up onto those ramps. All right, let's get this thing fired up. All right, here we go. All right, I got the e-brake set. Got the forks all the way down to the ground. Looks safe to me. I am going to chalk it. So let me go ahead and find my tire chocks, and we will put those in front of the front tires too. All right, I got tire chocks on both sides, and I want to talk about the ramps again. So the way I tested these was I had about a 13,000 pound or 14,000 pound forklift. And right after I built them, I pulled that forklift up on here and I let them sit for a week. And nothing happened. Just sat there and the belt boards held it just fine. So I figured based off of that, they're pretty safe. I'm not too worried about it. So that's how I tested them. This forklift is a 6,000 pound capacity. I think it probably weighs 11 or 12. So it's a smaller forklift. But I'm not too worried about it. Like I said, I've had many of forklifts on here. I wish I had one solid piece of lumber or timber, but you know, that's what I had at the time, and so that's what I made work. But anyway, let's get tearing into this thing, and let's see. I think it's going to be more of a challenge than it appears. So let's get into it. All right, first things first, we're going to get this hood put up here. There we go. Take this floor pan up here. Okay, so I was wrong. I said it was going to be on this side because you see that leak down there on the floor. I thought that was from it. That appears to be a new leak, which is most likely coming from this transmission line right in there. So we'll have to deal with that too. But here is your steer cylinder right there. And you can see that it is leaking on this side as well. So we're going to go ahead and see if I can get that thing off of here. All right, guys, I got it out. It's on the bench, and it wasn't easy, but here it is. Bad thing about forklifts is it's a very tight fit. But I wanted to point out, if you guys do any work with hydraulics at all, this is a nice little kit I found on eBay. It's a cap and plug set, and it's just a bunch of JIC hydraulic adapters, caps and plugs, multiple various sizes, and it comes in really handy for plugging off those hydraulic lines and fittings when you have to, so it doesn't continuously run oil out onto the ground or wherever you have it into a bucket. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in the parts washer and clean it up, and then we'll be back and figure out how this thing comes apart. All right, it's all cleaned up. I got it in the vise here, and to take this apart, you've got a nut here, and traditionally that should take a wrench like this. This is a spanner wrench. However, I don't have the correct size here. I left it at work. So we're going to do what everyone else has done in the past, as you can tell. We're going to use a pipe wrench, and we're going to take it off with that. So, we'll get this off. And I'll tell you what, this piston in here is awful loose. It should not be that loose, and you can just turn it like it's nothing. So that tells me right there that it's bad, and probably had some pretty good blow-by going. And so let me get this off. The one reason I wanted to get this out today is because tomorrow that part's supposed to come in, and I want to take this with me to the cat dealer. And that way I know if I'm getting the right thing or not. When I called them, I gave them the model number, but unfortunately the serial number is kind of scratched off. So that's that makes it kind of difficult to match parts up for it. And plus it's an old one, and it's probably even harder to get parts for just because of that. Yeah, this piston's hanging up in there. There we go. Let's see, there's not much to it. It looks like I'm gonna have to take this nut off to take it apart. Usually they're a standard oil type seal. The part that's leaking is this here. This is your shaft seal. So probably a dust wiper here, and then there's a shaft seal on the inside of it. But I'll go ahead and throw this in a box, put it in my car, and we'll see you tomorrow when I take off to go pick this thing up. All right, guys, so it is the next day, afternoon, and we're gonna head on over to the cat dealer. They called and said the parts came in, so we're gonna go pick them up. Look at all this cool equipment, guys. So much. We're here. All right, I'm gonna go get the parts. Well, since I came all this way, I think I need some culvers before I go back home. Well, here we are back. I got everything laid out, and these are the old seals that I pulled off. You basically just use a couple picks or screwdrivers, whatever you got, and you can pry those right off. We got the new kit here, which has everything in it. This is all there is to it. So let's go ahead and get back to assembling it. First, this piece here has to go on the piston. Okay, that's on. Next, this might be a bit harder, but this ring has to go over that washer there. All right, I'm going to try this C-clamp. I clamped that on. Hopefully that will hold it from working its way around as I try to force this to go around this piston. That seems to be working. There you go. That's it. Now it's a little big. It should retract back down, just for me stretching it there. So we'll let that sit. Next thing I'm going to do is, this needs an O-ring, and here's our new O-ring. That should be nothing to put on. Done. The other thing is, we've got our seal, oil seal, and then we've got our dust wiper that's got to go down inside of here. There's two rings. You can see back in there, there's one, and then there's the one right on the edge here. So, these seals are directional. This side here is going to be the side that is going to face your piston, because that's going to stop fluid from coming back this way. So we need to shove this down in there and hopefully get it to seat in there without hurting it. Now I'll probably go get a screwdriver here to kind of, or maybe a pick here will work, just to kind of hold it and try to push it into that groove. I don't want to ruin this, that's for sure. This is what was actually leaking. There we go. Now it's down in there. Now the reason I grabbed this screwdriver is it's got a flat edge, so it's not going to be as hard on this seal when I'm pushing on it. Get this in there. There we go. Okay, there we go. That is in there. A little finesse, that's all it took. Now we'll put our dust wiper in. That's a lot easier. It just goes right on the end here. There you go. So, we're all built. All we have to do is put this back together. Okay, now we need to put this shaft back together. So the first thing I want to do is put this on, and it's going to go on like this. There we go. Having a little difficulty here. I may have to tap it with a rubber hammer. Let me grab a rubber hammer. Okay. There we go. It has gone through the seal now. Nice tight fit. It was not that tight before. And that is very, very good. So, now that that's all on, I've put a 3/4 inch wrench here, and if you look on this rod, it's got some flats. What I need to do is put this piston on and then tighten down this lock nut. And I'm going to use that wrench in the vise to hold it while I tighten up this nut. There we go. Next, I'm going to put this in the vise so that we can put the rod in the cylinder. This is probably going to be one of the hardest things to do because this ring is fatter than the old one that came out. So I want to make sure I'm not going to mess it up. We're going to take our time, and what I like to do is just kind of wiggle it. There we go. There we go. Actually, that went a heck of a lot easier than I thought it would. So, we just need to tighten this back down, and this cylinder's built. We are done with it. And then we got to install it on the forklift. And again, we're just going to use the pipe wrench because I forgot the correct wrench again. But that's okay. I'm not the first one to do it. Won't be the last. There we go. Yep, that feels a heck of a lot better. So before, when I would turn that forklift, it was just really easy to turn, and it probably shouldn't have been that easy. When you would just be driving straight and you'd let off the steering wheel, the wheels would want to whip one direction all of a sudden. So that tells me this wasn't doing its job on top of leaking. It had probably a lot of blow-by inside on the piston. So now that this is nice and tight, it feels so much better. I have a feeling the steering's going to clear up on it now. So I'm going to go ahead and get this installed, and we'll be back and see where we're at. All right, guys, let's go ahead and start this up and see what happens. I got the cylinder put back on. I didn't feel the need to videotape that because I figured you guys don't want to see me bent into a pretzel, and that's pretty much what you have to do to put this cylinder back in. So let me get it started and let's see what happens when we turn. Keep in mind that the cylinder is empty and it'll have to fill with fluid as I move the wheel. So yeah, it's filling. Oh, that's very nice. That is working very good. I just want to make sure I don't have any leaks. I had originally said I was going to change out the hydraulic hoses, but I did not see a problem with them. I didn't think that they were leaking. So I'm going to pull this down off of here, and let me put everything back on it. We'll pull it off, and we'll see what happens. It can only be better, in my opinion. There we go. Oh, looks like that battery shifted over a little and it's catching on the... There we go. Let's see. That feels really good, actually. Very good power steering. So long as we don't leak anything, I think we're in good shape. Work it back and forth a few times. Uh-oh. Looks like my gas is out. Let me go get another tank. I figured I was getting close. Go ahead and set this over here and I'll go have it filled probably today. And go grab a tank. All right, here we go. If you guys have propane powered stuff at home, do you keep a separate tank too? An extra tank? I tried it without and it was such a pain. It would die in the middle of doing something and then you're stuck there. So this is really the only way to do it, to have two tanks at least. I got lucky and this tank here I found on, I think it was Craigslist. The guy was asking 50 bucks. He had it because he was at one time into doing off-roading, and so he would run his Jeeps off these propane tanks. So he was getting out of that, and I ended up getting a deal. Took it down, I had it recertified and filled, and haven't had any issues, so worked out pretty good. All right, let's try this again. Maybe I should turn the tank on, huh? That would help. Yeah, it's steering nice. That is much nicer than before. Still kind of wants to steer itself. I'm wondering if maybe it's got a little bit of an alignment or a adjustment issue, but I'm okay. I can work with that. Seems to me like it's working good. I'm gonna let it sit here and run for a few minutes, clean up whatever mess I got from underneath it, and we'll come back and let's see if it's leaking. All right, guys, it's been sitting here running for about 10 minutes. There it is. And I haven't seen any leaks. Let's see. Nope. That's just a dark spot in the concrete. But no drips coming from that cylinder. So I think we fixed that. However, on this side, we still have, let's see here, right there. That is transmission fluid. So, if you look in here, this line here goes back down here to the firewall. Boy, it's hard to get you in there. Here we go. Those two lines there. So one of those lines goes to that point. The other one goes to right here. So you got, I'm guessing, in and out. And if you look closely at this one, where are you at? You see how cracked it is? So I got to figure out what size that is, and I'm going to run to Napa and grab some transmission line. But that's pretty easy to do, and I'm not going to video that. At least we got one leak fixed. I'll have the other one fixed before the end of the day, and I think we're good. That's all this forklift needs. Well, one more thing about this forklift. It was owned by a local furniture factory, and this might be one of the highest houred forklifts you'll ever see. Let me get you in here and you can look at the hour meter. Might be hard to see. That is 43,155, we'll call it. I don't know what that equates to in years, but I think it's 7 to 8 years of non-stop runtime. So that's pretty amazing. That's definitely a sales point for Caterpillar. This forklift has been worked hard, and when I got it, it didn't look this good. I painted the wheels, I painted the entire thing. So, you know, I've done some work to it, but nothing real major. When I got it, it didn't leak a thing. You know, it started right up. There was really no issues with it. So the only thing is, it does have some wear on pivot points for your mast here. This is a very heavy duty mast. It's a 3-stage and one of the most heavy duty ones they make. But you know, you got to give it to Cat. They built a good machine. Well, I want to thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed what you've seen. It was quite the project for me to crawl around in this thing and try to get that cylinder out because it's buried in there pretty good. And I'd hope that you would like to subscribe, leave me a comment, and hit that like button. We'll see you on the next video.